Put that on Twitter.
Welcome to the All-Star Supercast. I'm Haz from Valkyrock. This is Jay from Jay Horn Illustration. This is Joe, who's recently returned from a weird fishing expedition in the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, how'd you get back?
I swam.
That's the key. All these people who get lost in the Bermuda Triangle, they've been flying.
Fucking show off, taking boats and shit.
I bet you wish you were back there, because we've just watched Death Note, which came up this year on Netflix.
Precisely where we should have thrown the film.
Just get all of the copies of it and just put it on a plane to the Bermuda Triangle.
So there's a bit of context. I've seen this now and the anime.
As have I.
You've also read the manga.
Yes.
And I am a Death Note virgin.
They weren't even gentle with you.
They weren't. No, I mean, I could literally feel the spikes on the Death Note guy's head.
I bet you're going to be crying in the shower later.
Yeah, but not for this film. It's something I do.
So
it's going to be one of these
Do you
episodes.
actually just like turn on the shower? I just bathe in my tears.
It saves water.
It does.
Yeah.
Maybe it's me, but cry.
Maybe it's endless sadness.
Maybe we did cut that bit out because that was neither witty nor witty.
God damn it! It wasn't witty, but it sure was shitty.
High college.
Schwitty.
Damn it!
Sure.
So to bring this back on topic,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Jeremy
okay.
has the most history with this, so if you want to give us a bit of background on the whole Death Note franchise, I suppose.
So, it is a manga that was written by Tsugumi Oba and illustrated by Takeshi Obata. Interesting fact about Tsugumi Oba who wrote it, no one knows who he or she is. It's like a mystery.
I wish no one knew what this
But
film
you
was.
do know.
Yeah.
You do know his name or her name.
Or her name.
It's
No,
a
it's a
pseudonym.
pen name.
Oh,
Pen name that they've just handed in. Obviously someone knows who it is. But it contrasts with the character of L.
Very much so.
So who no one knows the name of.
the anonymous.
Yeah.
Anonymous.
It's like they knew,
Anonymous.
it's like they knew it was going to be a big hit and didn't want the fame that attracted.
Yeah.
Like they just wanted the work to speak for itself.
But they've worked together a few
Interesting
times.
Have they?
Yes, they also worked on a pretty popular manga called Bakuman about a manga artist and a writer. So that was a bit hard hitting for home, I think. So yeah, when did it come out? It came out in
2004
2004, yeah.
started.
And the show was commissioned in 2006.
Oh, just to stop all the stat notes out there, it's actually 2003. I've
Ah.
just seen on the sides.
So it was it came out in 2003, and the anime was released in 2006.
So we're going to cover the anime next time.
Yeah,
So we'll
that's
try
gonna
not.
be good.
We're going to try not to dwell on it too much.
It's
but
going to be hard.
It is.
That's what she said.
Not for me. I've never seen the fucker.
No.
Trust me, you want to. After this, especially,
Yeah.
you need to right this wrong.
I almost want to watch something slightly less shit.
So what is the concept of Death Note then?
So, it's basically about a young man who receives a notebook. If you write anyone's name in that notebook, that person will die. And that is gifted to him by a god of death.
A Shingami.
Yeah. Called Ryuk, who is a really great character, really. It's not a deep character, it's not...
It's the kind of character that could have been so detached because of the scale of the character.
Yeah.
But it's not. And I mean, there's a big difference between the Ryuk in this film,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call it, to the one that appears in both the anime and the manga.
Mhm.
There's a difference, but they're both really, really good and very much the stars of,
Yeah.
of their respective medias. So we've got the cast and director. I mean, the director seems to come from a horror-based background. So
You can tell.
yeah, nothing massive that I could see on there. I mean, this seems like the biggest thing he's done to date, anyway.
You were saying it's very similar to Final Destination, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean there was a couple of times when once the film got started, and it didn't take long to get started, that you immediately saw these like winks, like the cinematic winks to Final Destination. But I mean, obviously we'll talk about that a bit as we go into it. But yeah, that was the first thing that hit me, was the Final Destination franchise.
They seem to have quite a few horror tropes throughout it, or allusions to horror tropes.
Those beautiful neswas.
Yeah.
I don't know what that
And,
means.
they also had 3 people wrote the screenplay. 2 relatively unknowns, I thought, but The big one, it's the same guy who wrote the Fantastic Four reboot.
Fan-fortastic.
Which, to be honest,
That's
seeing
the
his
sound
name,
Jamie made when he paid for his ticket to go see it.
to be honest, we found that out after watching it, and it kind of made a lot of sense at that point why the pacing was all over the place and why it didn't really get a home run with a franchise that deserves it.
This is why it's shit.
That is exactly what you said when you found out who fucking wrote it.
Yeah, the head.
Oh, right.
It all makes sense.
The head was in the hand.
It's like, I am the detective now. I am L. I've put all the pieces together. Well, you did, but
you were standing nearby, so it kind of counts.
I reacted to it, so
sort of like basically took it off him and ran away.
Yeah.
I mean, also looking at the cast, it's a relatively unknown cast,
which seems to be a theme.
Except Willem Dafoe being Ryuk. I mean, fantastic casting there. I felt that the person who was cast as Light, I'm not sure if it was
whiny shit.
I'm not sure if it was the acting or the way that role was written, but either way,
they're both, I think.
I think it lent heavily on how the film, laid out as much as it was his performance. I would say it's probably 3/4 the film, 1/4 his very hollow performance.
Well, it is a sad thing about it. He was the most charismatic performer in the entire film.
Yeah,
he was
in a film that should have a lot more charisma in it.
Yeah, he just. Yeah.
It's not. The thing is, there's almost a loss for words.
There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of this sound being made throughout this podcast. By the way, just.
Speaking of Spider-Man, in a very, I know we're probably going to have to cut out what he just said, most of it. So this segue is not going to make a whole lot of sense. But a while ago, somebody happened to mention why the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was so unlikable in a YouTube video I'd seen. And it made a very good point that his Spider-Man was cocky. He was an arrogant nerd, and that's the first thing that hit me about this guy, about this main character, this protagonist. He comes in hot straight away as an edgy outsider, and I fucking hate those people.
I have to say, cocky is the main word I've written down. Cocky. The whole lot.
It's just like
I just wrote down cock. Oh wait, that's my diary. Never mind.
Just the word cock in your diary.
Oh, and there's a heart next to it as well.
There is, and all. I can see that. What's that? What is that?
Actually, that's a bit that says light hearts, My Chemical Romance. Because he's obviously the look is just Gerard Way in a 2007 album video that isn't even relevant this day and age.
The film really suffered with that overall. Though I'd be interested to know when it was set, because I mean the phones weren't like top of the line phones these days. They were more like the clamshell phones.
But one of the TVs was like super modern looking.
I wonder if it is set like kind of mid to late noughties, kind of when it came out. Maybe. It was originally released, because there was a few things that kind of didn't sit in the modern day.
Well, I think because it was set in Seattle as well.
Well, let's touch on that before anything.
Yeah.
They've moved it from Tokyo to Seattle. They've really Americanized it and really misstepped with that, I thought.
And the thing is with Seattle as well, it's the heart of the grunge scene from the 90s. So if you looked at what everyone was wearing, all the kids were wearing, they were kind of dressed like it was the 90s a little bit, I thought.
The frosted hair tips that he had.
Frosted hair tips, the baggy, what they call the shirts that have the cross-stitching pattern on? Plaid shirts. The baggy plaid shirts, the baggy jeans and all that. It was.
That just struck me with like the emo culture of the mid-noughties. I should know, I was one.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah. I'll own that, I don't mind.
I've shared a picture of that on the Twitter handle if you want to have a look at that.
Emod in his finest.
But it was a mixture of both in many ways, because you had the whole emo thing and then you had the grunge aesthetic as well.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely lost something in translation from that kind of... Like, a lot of the character motivations had to change because they wouldn't have made sense in America.
Yeah.
And, like, in Japan, high achieving seen as a very good thing, whereas in America it's like that jock culture instead. So the people who do well seem to get bullied a lot more, and it really did play on that.
It also seemed like it was written by people who don't know how teenagers act. What teenagers are like. I mean, maybe my memories are more recent than the writers of being a teenager, but it wasn't. We're not like that. We weren't like that at all.
I mean, you look at, again, we talked about it through the Dread podcasts before, but you look at the main female character in this, and that motivation and just whole way it's presented is so different to, like, the manga and the anime. It's almost... I don't even know how to describe it. It made me so angry to see.
Yeah.
Because they really dumped the character down in such a different way that...
We were both getting angry throughout this film at various points.
Joe said
really
it best.
were,
You said you could just feel the hatred in the room. And
You really could.
after half an hour, we were both ready to turn it off.
Yeah.
And
It was like we were Nazis in a synagogue. That's how bad it was.
Fucking hell.
Do you just, like, find words to say that you think, oh, he'll have to cut this out?
No, yeah, he literally just gives me words. Like, I hope he doesn't listen to this bit. Oh, it's in.
Yeah.
Hey.
It's like subliminal messages. Fucking hell.
It's like really bad people in the place where they persecuted them.
I mean, let's just, if I do forget to take it out,
What?
Nazis are bad.
Yes, yeah, let's never forget that.
Nazis are
Yes.
bad. Joe, come on.
If you see them in the
Yes,
streets...
I know, I'm not disagreeing with it. Fucking hell, I don't need to say it.
The silence
If
said
you
everything.
see one in the
Yes.
streets, you punch him. Don't punch a Nazi. Do it. It was the likability though as well, and that's not just
a
for
complete lack thereof.
all of the characters.
That inherent evil out of nowhere.
Yeah. Now I'm a bad guy.
It was not even like it was a bad
Twizzling
guy.
her mustache.
It was like malicious out of nowhere and just...
I mean, her first wink to the fact that she wasn't quite right as a character or even as a person was when she initially showed up and she said, look, don't feel bad about not feeling bad that guy got his head taken off. It doesn't make you a sociopath. Well, it kind of does.
Yeah, you said that straight
If you
away.
don't have empathy, then you're a sociopath.
Yeah, is that right? Is that an oxymoron? I'm
She,
gonna Google that. Hang on.
she contradicts herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Juxtaposition. There you go.
Yeah.
Suck on that. Circa 2017 word. I'm now gonna have to look up again.
Juxtaposition.
Juxtaposition. I can't actually remember what that means. I think it means when something directly contrasts something
More like
else.
juxtaposition.
Not actually right. Scratch that. So anyway, yeah, I really didn't like her, but then again, I didn't like him either. So it became very difficult to figure out who at the initial stage. It wasn't until the detective came in that I actually had a character that I was rooting for, and I was rooting for him to shoot them both in the face.
And then that was the end of the film. Half an hour in.
It.
That's yeah.
He would have fucked the brain hole.
What's interesting is that the anime is all and the manga are both just built on you have to like light from the start and root for him because that's what you want them both to win throughout.
Yeah.
And this completely messed it. I mean, the biggest problem I had was because it Americanized it, it made them the outcast characters in their school a bit, and it's like, oh, they're outcast characters, so the jocks really don't like them, and they've got to be quirky and out there. And,
Even though she's a cheerleader.
yeah.
How can she be an outcast and a cheerleader?
How was she a cheerleader?
I mean, you're really that's a real generalisation.
I wouldn't cheer for her.
There, but
I wouldn't cheer for her at all.
I mean, to be honest, this relied on a lot of stereotypes just to get across the fact that this was now set in America. They really wanted to bring in the Western audience by going, look, here's the football helmets, here's the cheerleaders, here's the study halls, here's a big slice of Americana.
I mean,
which is fine, of course.
We'll just crack straight into the film at this point because that whole opening shot was all showing Seattle. I mean, instantly you had the Seattle shot.
And then
it just...
what's the one in Frasier?
Where everybody knows your name.
That's
no,
Cheers.
that's true.
Wrong reference.
I'll be there for you.
So how do you know the Grey's Anatomy from
Ba-ba-ba. We'll get one eventually.
What's the Will and Grace theme song? I don't know. Where were we?
So the opening shots showing off not just that it's in Seattle, but also it instantly went to American football team and cheerleaders a lot, and then it had him studying as well. And it really did...
Well, he wasn't just studying. It showed him that he was doing homework for other kids and getting paid for it.
Yeah, it showed that devious nature from the start.
Yeah, and also that he was intelligent in some way, which they dropped pretty much.
They very quickly glossed over that. And I mean, to be honest, they very lazily attempted to get us on side with him by having these... I mean, for me personally, it seemed like very much a sort of teenage like an attempt to grab the teenage audience by immediately throwing in these one-dimensional adult characters who didn't care, who were just totally against him.
Well, you had the bullies who were just typical jock bullies.
The unrealistic bullies. I'm sorry, but no bully in their right mind is going to pick on a girl. They don't do it. No male bullies pick on girls because they want the girls to fuck them.
I'll say not here anywhere. Not. I mean, we're in Britain. We don't know what America's like particularly, but
people are people.
You get enough generalisations for it. But,
I get it.
I mean, this guy was meant to be just
They obviously had to try and make him as evil and as unlikable.
Well,
as
just made him such a scumbag.
Well, they should have just given the same personality as the rest of the characters in this fucking film. That's right. I'm throwing shade all over the place.
Now I got my man. He wanted to talk about this. I say don't talk about it.
Well, I say. I can't put that in. That's face.
Nice.
It's going in.
The unrealistic bullies really pissed me off a lot because they did seem so one-dimensional.
I mean, before the bullies, you've already got the Death Note introduced, falling down, so he just picks it up, kind of looks at it briefly, goes in the bag, and then it starts raining, so he shoots inside.
Yeah, there's no
and then we have the kid thrown out the door by the bullies, and very quickly, again, you get that exposition.
The bullies like rain. They're like, get out there, I want to beat you up in the rain.
Did you notice the guy who they threw out was stereotypically nerdy? He had the glasses on and was quite weedy.
Surprised he didn't have braces over his fucking shoulders.
I wasn't paying that much attention. He was busy rolling around on the floor.
Oh, jeez, don't beat me up. I'm just trying to do my calculus.
So we have this. I found that we got the exposition so quickly of the bully's
no
being held back twice, so he's obviously bigger and more powerful and obviously thick. And I noticed straight away he tried to use like the law and like the law. The law. That word's cursed.
It is.
But the way he used it straight away to try and justify why he was such a colossal bellend as well.
Yeah.
Of you touch me, that's it. That's assault of a minor.
Yeah.
And the guy just doesn't care and knocks him out.
Yeah. To be honest, that kind of like statement made me want to punch him as well.
Yeah.
So.
He was quite a snivelly way to do it. It wasn't like charismatic. It wasn't like, aha, I've got you. It was more like
it's like
you wouldn't hit a guy with a litigation on his face, would you?
It's like when you've got obviously I work in a shop and you get the bell end kids who come in sometimes and they just fucking mess everything up. They walk around playing on iPads and being dickheads. And sometimes I'm tasked with throwing them out of the shop. And they're like, you can't touch me. I'm like, fuck off.
Very quickly though, after he gets knocked out, like he's found by an adult, and very quickly in the principal's office, and you get the adults just ignoring the fact that he's been beaten up and just going, well, you've got all these tests.
Yeah, it seems to be that's what I really hated about that, is the fact that no adult in a professional capacity would ignore a wound. You know what I mean? They'd be like, obviously, they have a duty of care at this point.
No, they wouldn't ignore a wound of a cop's child.
Yeah. Which he is, yeah.
And I mean, but you hear so many stories from America of like the jocks being protected by the school because their sports program, because their sports programs are so important. That I think it was trying to play on that stereotype, but we don't really get that here. We don't have that here, so for us, maybe that was just lost again in translation.
But also, it didn't say anything about that bully being a sports star anyway.
No, it just said he'd been held back twice, and that was it. So,
if he was a sports star, then they would just let him pass anyway, wouldn't they? But
this comes into the big problem I have with this film, which is the pacing of it. The exposition is really thrown in there in your face, and then it just moves at like 1,000 miles an hour. Because I mean, he's on the floor, and the next thing you know, he's suddenly been done for the tests he was doing at the start, and you're like, what happened to this bit? Yeah. And it just goes, oh, you don't need to know that now. We've moved on, and you're left going, I don't get it. And by the time you kind of tune back in, it's already like 5 scenes later, and you're confused.
Yeah. And then we get back to him.
Oh, they also clumsily threw in the principal scene that he'd lost his mum.
Yeah. And just like, I know you lost your mum.
I know you're acting up because of this, but you need to stop it now. And it was
like,
you're a good cop, but you're reckless.
Oh, the elite pencil.
I'm going to throw the book at you, damn it, Turner.
I know you're only 3 days away from retirement, and you're a good cop, but... And then, you know...
I want your gun and your badge.
I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah. And it's like that. Yeah, it's kind of like throwing in this history very quickly, and there could have been a smarter way to do that.
But did you notice it was
that's
almost
like a
out of nowhere
brick,
as well,
isn't it? That.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there was I really liked Disturbia, which was a remake of Alfred Hitchcock's Rear View Window or something like that.
Yeah.
Or something very similar. And basically what happened was Shia LaBeouf's character was called out. Yeah, that one. Right. He was called out in front of the teacher. The teachers, they have this face-to-face thing, and it's very subtle. The teacher leans in and goes, "What would your father think? What would your father think?" He whispers that. I couldn't whisper that because I needed to shower. And of course, that triggers him, and he goes up. And it was very subtly done. It wasn't just sort of put in there in a sort of, I know your mother's died kind of thing. But yeah, I just thought it was very, very clumsily done.
It's really insensitive as well.
Yeah,
just to say that,
wasn't
it?
Yeah.
But I mean, we've already got adult
your mum's dead. Now you're doing homework for other people.
Well, it was very
It didn't seem to link up very
well.
Yeah.
Well,
it was so blunt of these adults who are already ignoring GBH.
Yeah.
Just like, I know your mum's dead, but no
and
need
you've
to
just
do
been
that.
Punched in the face.
Then we get the detention scene. Like, it moves so swiftly to he's suddenly in detention. We have no reference of timescale. We assume it's the same day because he's still got the Death Note, but so quickly moves to that.
I thought he got the book far too early in the story. I mean, by far too early, I understood that what I was looking for was this book. I gathered that was significant. So I saw a little bit of a trailer. I knew this book would have to arrive in this character's story somewhere. But I wanted to know more about the character first, to understand maybe why it would have been significant for him to possess this, but it just sort of fell into his lap, and then you had to learn about him as this other massive story.
Well, the anime kind of does that. Just one of the first scenes is the book dropping.
Oh, right.
But he does spend more time deliberating about the book.
But yeah, that conscience. Yeah. I mean, we'll get on to it. That conscience of him isn't in this at all, and I guess it's because it's only an hour 50 long. And they condensed a lot of material down, so they got rid of a lot of it.
I mean, one thing that's in anime and manga that doesn't seem to be translated a lot into film and TV is the narration.
Yeah.
So, like, when you're watching an anime, the exposition comes in. The main character is usually narrating something.
I mean, in Death Note, it's very much his inner thoughts.
Yeah.
Come through, and it didn't do that in this. It was all very spoken, but. We know films can have the inner thoughts because it works really well when they do it normally.
It does, yeah.
And because that pacing and it felt it had to rattle through the story so fast, it was like, we don't have time for that. Which it would have helped if they'd have had time for that, because we needed to care about this character and we didn't. Of everything we saw so far, he was just a brat.
Yeah.
Acting out, and in a school where the teachers don't care.
Yeah.
So
teachers don't care about me.
It was quite
it's a very teenage.
There was no compassion.
Trope, isn't there?
Yeah.
There was just no compassion in the whole film so far.
Yeah.
It's very one emotion, very emo.
Yes.
very
emo.
Massively.
And they obviously don't realise that emo isn't really a thing anymore.
So you go into detention. One of the first things you see is the apple, big red shiny apple.
Who brings an apple to class? In this day and age, I don't get it. I think it was so trendy. I think he'll bring something like soybeans or something probably.
Have you seen my quinoa?
I've got some seeds here. The way the apple is significant to Death Note.
Yeah, I mean it's a big signifier of the series in a way.
It's because the series is so biblical.
Yeah,
that's what in the anime is. There's a lot of biblical imagery throughout it, and the apple, of course, the Adam and Eve story, and everything like that. That's why it's in there, and it makes sense in that. But
if I was to dissolve it from the outside perspective, first I know nothing about Death Note, and I know nothing about
this film.
Past this film, all I would have ever associated the apple with would have been obviously school. Primary school kind of shit.
Yeah.
But
that's an old cliche.
Well, so
that doesn't really happen now anyway.
I'd say the apple was one of the only really true colours we'd seen throughout, because it was bright red on quite a dull palette.
It really was, yeah.
And so that really stood out. And then we had the teacher who found him saying, "Don't you dare move," kind of thing to him.
Or, stay there. Don't move.
Yeah, you move and that's it. You're in detention for another day. Again, that uncaring adult nature. And I don't know if we're meant to feel compassion for him because the world's so uncaring.
And against
I think
him.
if we were teenagers,
when I was watching it, I didn't
to
think
associate
that.
with him. But
So teacher leaves the room, and then we get the arrival of Ryuk.
Yeah. He screams his head off.
I mean,
he has such a fucking pussy
such,
fit.
but it's such a childish reaction. It's quite babyish. And
This you get written down here, Jamie.
Willem Dafoe! Oh, screams like a little bitch, and I have 2 T's for no 3 T's for little bitch. Oh no, I don't. I have 2 T's and the L.
I wasn't questioning how you spelled it, just how you wrote it.
C minus.
But
Screams like a little bitch.
it was quite interesting that he went to try and hide, and then the desk just disappeared.
Yeah.
And the rooms just goes all to hell. Everything's everywhere.
Yeah. When everything did go everywhere as well, referring to what you said, the apple was the first hint of colour, and then all that crepe paper and crap flew all over, and that was colour bursting into the scene. And again, if we were looking at this from sort of this teenage angst perspective, it's all my life's boring, or it's unfair, or whatever, and then all of a sudden, boom, the colour comes into it,
but that never happens any of
happen.
the other times Ryuk shows up.
No, but this is the introduction, I suppose.
Yeah,
He's meant to be. We'd all be freaked out if that suddenly happened to us.
I have a fucking stroke. I saw that fucking massive hedgehog.
Well, whoa. He's not that sexy.
Now, what's good about this?
Well, that's your opinion.
Now, what's good about this is how they've shown Ryuk through the whole film. Really, is he's always in shadow. He's never particularly fully seen properly.
Yeah.
And I quite like that because it's almost like they knew they couldn't do justice to having him in the daylight.
Yeah.
So they played that dark aesthetic of the film off really well with this. And I mean, the casting.
He looks great.
Willem Dafoe as Ryuk is just
That's
spot on.
great voice. He's very similar voice to the.
And he did the motion capture as well.
Yeah, which is great.
So,
very similar voice to the actor for Ryuk in the anime as well.
yeah.
Very similar.
I mean,
And Willem Dafoe's just so good anyway.
so you
so creepy.
had the guy freak out and go hide, and then we see the apple core thrown down. And what annoyed me here was there was no explanation for why Ryuk's eating apples.
Why is that?
And it's because apples are the cigarettes to the Shingami.
Yeah, they're addictive to them. Everything else tastes bitter in their world, and apples are the sweetest
The
things
nice
they can have.
juicy apples.
Yeah.
And it's that drug hit, really.
Obviously, they've never had a Granny Smith's.
Nice bourbon.
So bitter.
Glavin.
Oh, it hurts my tongue. Having a full cooking apple. Just chowing down.
But then, we see Ryuk almost egg on Light in this pit where he's like, oh, look, that bully's at it again outside. He's picking on the girl again.
Yeah, he's beating up a girl.
And
sort of what sort of bully does that?
So we see Ryuk really manipulating Light at this point of, well, you know that death note that you were just looking at? Well, why don't you just write a name in it? And he's like, oh, I haven't got a pen. He just hands him. It's almost like a metaphor for just grooming.
Go on, you know you want to do it. You know
just,
you want to write
touch
that down.
it. Just touch it.
Just touch the pen nib to the paper.
I mean, this verse highlighted how questionable this guy is to be left in charge of something as big as this, because he kills a bully. Now, if you were to look at him as even as an anti-hero, you would think his motives are questionable.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's pushing somebody around. He deserves to get his fucking head taken
No.
off.
Well, that's the thing. When he writes the name, in the anime, you could just write the name and it's a heart attack 43 seconds later. In this, he actually writes decapitation.
He's motivated to do it as well by
we see him do that, and then we really get that you were saying that final destination scene of you see how it all plays out, how all the coincidences happen
yeah.
And I mean that was such a well shot scene.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah,
it's just
Or
a shame
sequence.
that it was pointless. It was pointless gore, I thought.
And specifically that death bit was just. It was gory for the hell of it.
I mean, if you look at the series, yes, it deals with the topic of death, and there are some bloody scenes in it, but really it's pretty constrained.
Yeah.
Yeah. Restrained. It's pretty restrained, sorry. So you get like people dying of heart attacks a lot of the time, and that's the signature of Kira, which we'll get to.
And in this, again, it felt like it glossed over, and you could see where it was influenced from the manga and anime, but it really tried to go its own way at this point, and this is where it really started. If it hadn't already, they really start to fall apart. of Ryuk took much more of a centre stage, whereas he's very much not the side character, but he's very much like the character in behind the scenes.
Yeah, he's a bit of a puppet master, but a bit not as well.
Yeah, and so you get that gore fest of a death, and the almost audience shock of it, and then we jump to him being at home.
Yeah.
And he's having that conversation with his dad over dinner, and then we get very much the hard-nosed dad.
Yeah.
And I've put that Light was being quite moody, and I mean he's just seen someone die quite gruesomely, and he's just like, oh, woe's me.
This is where I first realised that Light is pretty dumb as well. He's nowhere near clever enough to have this sort of a thing.
Not to the scale that he was in everything else.
He just seems so emotional, so childlike in how he reacts to stuff.
Well, I mean, they've written it as if he was like the age he is, not that he's exceptional.
Yeah, and he is exceptional. That's the thing. The character is meant to be exceptional.
Yeah.
At least in the original.
The thing you both sort of highlighted really quite early on was the trouble this obviously has with its pacing, based against the fact that it doesn't have time to have that kind of development of the character.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no real excuse in a way. You know, you could still, with the limited time they had available, they could still.
Other films manage it.
Yeah.
They still
so many other films manage to make you care about a character within 5 minutes. Like this just doesn't, because it's trying to rattle through the story as opposed to make you care about the first character.
I mean, you said it would be better as like a 4-part Netflix series.
I think if it had been broken up a bit more, so that first episode you could have had. I mean, because there's like the arcs in the anime, you could have had that first episode just introduce you not just to the characters, but give you how the Death Note works without its million bloody rules.
Yeah.
Which they've just seemingly created out of nowhere, and almost just develop all the cast a bit more, because I mean the dad, you don't find out who's a cop for a while.
No.
And it's just, I mean, you don't in the anime.
And for some reason they said as well that Light's mum, Light has a sister in the anime as well who's absent, but Light's mother was killed in this, as we said before, which didn't happen in the anime. They had the perfect family essentially.
Yeah.
And she was killed by a mobster for some reason.
Which he never found out, so I could tell.
It was just there. It was just a reason to have sympathy for him.
I mean, you got this dinner. You had so much exposition as well on just instead of making us care, it just went, here is just an information dump that you need to know.
And it seemed, for me, it fed me the wrong things at the wrong time.
Yeah.
I got that the father was some kind of authority figure. It never highlighted what he was until I think I saw him out cold in a uniform on the couch or something like that much later on. And to be honest, they could have done that, him walking through the door, taking off the badge. You know, it could have been something simple as throwing it on the
When the anime, he's just a detective, and you don't know straight away that they're related until he just comes home from work.
Yeah, you see him working on the case
don't see him with
first.
Light until he just happens to walk home. He's like, I'm going home to my family. And he walks in and there's Light and the family.
Yeah, he's been working on the case
and
for
it's
weeks.
Such a good... They could have done that in like a longer form. Like if it had been a 4-part series, they could have had that be the end of the first episode. Is the chief is his dad, and you'd have been like,
and this is why he's getting the names of all of these people, because he has access to his home database.
Yeah, because he's meant to be this like genius, so he hacks into his dad's computer, and you just don't get any of that. He's just an edgelord.
Yeah, that's it. I've written that down at some point. He's just an edgelord.
And so we get how he falls out with his dad, because his dad's quite authoritarian and by the book, and he's obviously just...
He's going to put him in a gulag.
And he's just this outcast teenager who thinks he knows everything. He's got such a tough life.
You don't understand me, Dad.
Very much so.
I'm running away to live with Uncle Barry.
So he goes up to his bedroom, and this is when
I wish Jaden Smith was my son!
So he goes into his room, and we get Ryuk here again, of kind of just going, coaxing him on.
One thing I did like about that is they had Ryuk as the monster in the closet.
Yes.
Yeah, so the lights went out and he just assumed that Ryuk must be nearby. So he put the apple next to the closet and Ryuk's hand just came out and grabbed it.
I've just been able to read my writing. It says horror tropes abound.
Yeah.
And it very, very much was the, like, ooh, ooh, what's going to happen? Oh, and it was like, oh look, but it was so cheesily done that I just didn't jump at it. It was just like, oh, here we go again. After the horror tropes earlier as well.
Are you saying they were used ineffectively?
I'd say it was someone who was relying on his comfort zone. The director he was a horror director. I think he was very much falling back on probably his influences, but it didn't. That dark style doesn't need to be jump scares. It doesn't need that in it to be scary or horror or thriller, but it did it anyway. And again, just another misstep in the film. And whether that's the writers or the director making that call, I just felt it took me out of the scene, because you've gone from this Exposition City dinner to this weird horror jump scare scene to Ryuk coming out and saying, just write a name in, just do it. And it was so jarring how everything just didn't match up.
The first thing he noticed was that when he was flipping through the book was previous owner or whoever had written "Don't trust Ryuk." Yeah, which we'll come into later, where Ryuk says no one's ever managed to write more than the first two letters of my name in the book. Instantly plot hole in that.
Why is that?
Because he said no one's been able to write. My name has 4 letters. And no one's been able to write more than 2.
I just
Obviously,
presumed he was
they
using
have
an alias.
Because someone had written the name in the book.
I just presumed he was using an alias of some kind, but yeah, it's just we get.
It would be funny if his name was Ed.
Yeah, I mean, we get the coaxing of this how the mum died in this again exposition. Just looking at all these newspaper clippings.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, and so he's like, "Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to test this book and do this," which is fine, but because the mum's dead, it's such a personal scene. You wouldn't think this is how he tested it.
Yeah.
So we get this, and again we get this very gory scene. So instead of seeing him write what it is, we just get this scene of this random guy who we only get a kind of dodgy picture of beforehand.
Looks a bit greasy.
Yeah. It's this scumbag geezer.
Yeah.
And
Oi oi! I love killing coppers' mums, I do.
Yeah, and then
I'm going to enjoy this nice pasta. Let's hope we don't get stabbed in the neck, eh? Uh-oh!
And again, we get that final destination. Whoops-a-daisy, he's dead.
And he just
again,
spits out loads of blood.
Unnecessarily gory.
Yeah.
And again, that comes back to the horror tropes for me. Of it's that kind of gore-fest, hostel-esque.
I mean, he ruined everybody's meal.
Selfish.
Think of all the people in that restaurant who were just having a nice meal, didn't have anything to do with that guy, and they're just there like, well, I can't finish this spaghetti now.
HIV everywhere.
Yeah. It's starting to look like orange after a while.
Yeah.
I mean, he spat his spaghetti on that guy's sweater already. Mum's spaghetti.
So after that death scene, this is the first time we really see the dad being a cop, because he gets the call about the guy dying.
Yeah.
And you see him almost like laughing and like kind of like, oh my god, I can't believe he's dead.
Being a bit flabbergasted, but pop in. Yeah.
But I've got a job to do, but don't tell me I'm not going to love doing it at this point.
Yeah.
And so at that point, that's when we're like, oh, alright, he's a cop. Okay. And then what I found was really jarring was the very next scene he was sat in the gym.
Reading the note in the open.
Yeah, he's not trying to hide it. And
it's so dumb. It's just so dumb.
So we see Mia rock up and...
Yeah. As soon as she walked in right up until the end, it's like, you were like, alright, I really hate this person. There was no redeeming qualities about her at all.
No.
And did you notice how he didn't even try to hide? Like his secret was out within seconds.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, I kill people.
Yeah.
Do you want to date me?
I felt like this character is in the anime and manga, and I thought this character was absolutely ruined.
Yeah, Misa
like,
in the manga.
straight away was just. It was just like, oh, you're just like this evil sidekick then.
The character in the manga is basically a pop star.
Yeah.
A massive pop star.
Famous in her own right.
Who has her own Death Note, and she has her own Shinigami as well, like Ryu.
Yeah.
But her own Shinigami loves her. She thinks the world of her.
Like she's got her own tragic backstory.
Yeah, but she's such a sweet girl that she's won over her death god that's with her.
Yeah.
And Light in the manga and anime uses her to his own ends.
Yeah.
That's basically it. This is flipped around so much, and he becomes just this puppy dog.
And not just that, I just found that she was evil for no reason. Like we've already seen that she's quite sociopathic. Like you were saying, like she just rocks up into the gym. She's like, "Oh, don't even care about that bully."
Yeah.
And And
doesn't
then
make you a bad person
it's
not
like,
for expressing sympathy towards somebody's been,
It's like,
brutally
oh, thank you
killed.
for telling me I'm not a sociopath. Here, share my death note with me.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is a perfect stranger. You've discovered something unbelievable, something that by rights you shouldn't have your own head around, and to impress a girl, you're going to share this fucking thing.
So then we get almost like a montage of them like planning and killing people in various inventive
and then
ways.
banging
Yeah.
afterwards.
And then,
I mean, this becomes so
we just-
creepy so
we
quickly.
just killed those people. Put your penis inside
I mean,
my
we see
vagina.
how he gets the name Kira.
That's exactly how she sounds in the film.
I love getting penis in my vagina after I've killed a bunch of guys.
So during this montage, we see how they get the
Vagina.
name Kira. Oh my god.
Vagina, Gina. That's out of my system. Gina.
No, so we get like the montage of them.
Yeah.
They're not yet together as a couple. That's the thing. Like they're just hanging out, but in this quite seedy way, really.
Killing and banging.
They're not even banging at this point. They're just killing and cuddling.
It's just so creepy. It becomes like
Cuddling
a real,
with their naked
like,
bodies.
serial killer couple
Yeah.
on this little mission.
And then, so after we kind of see the Kira bit, we get a bit of a news montage of all these people dying in various ways.
Well, here's the thing about the Kira bit. It's they say when they're getting these influencing these guys who they're going to kill to write the symbol for Kira in Japanese everywhere, that it means killer in Japanese. It doesn't. It's the Japanese interpreting the American word killer. So that's like a bit shit as well.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a bit dumb. They could have come up with something different, I think. I don't think it was necessary to do it
I
that
mean,
way.
the problem is the ham-fisting in the manga inspiration there. Of, oh, well, we need them to call themselves Kira, so we need to put that in somehow. Let's just have it in a quick 2-second flash in this montage.
Yeah.
And again, comes down to that pacing issue of you're going so fast at this point that quite a key plot point's just glossed over.
Instead, what they could have done is they could have had him targeting some prolific killers or whatever in Japan, and have his swell of support build up there, and have them refer to him as Kira,
Instead of taking every international person out ever.
Yeah, and then that would because it says at one point that he's we'll get to it in a bit anyway. But they say at one point that he's making you think that he's operating from Japan.
Yeah, they tried.
Yeah, so.
But that all I got for that was it's just the TV. The only reason they're saying that's because he's gone with that name.
Yeah.
Like this is where you start to get the references on the news of talking about him being a god. And him kind of going a bit insane with his power, but at no point do we get that conscience for him.
Yeah, he just at one point he just goes, "We could be the gods and we can inspire people." You know, that's.
And there's just no conscience there of that, the good and bad of this situation, which you had in the manga and the anime.
Yeah.
Of it's just oh no, this is perfectly normal, and. It really, again, it just made me not like him even more because it's like, no, you're just evil. I'm not rooting for you to win here at all.
Emo bellends.
Straight off the back of the news montage, we get L's introduction
With Hiro Nakamura from Heroes.
Yeah.
Who didn't appear for the rest of the entire film.
Nope.
Even though he's awesome.
Which Jamie was, super not happy about.
Yeah, I actually yelled, "Yatta!" when he appeared. But then he disappeared like as soon as he came.
As soon as Jamie shouted that,
Yeah.
he just wrote him out.
All I got from the L intro was that L, again, just came off as so cocky and unlikable.
Yeah, I mean, he was a bit more similar to his character in his mannerisms and a few of his quirks.
The way in the manga that you could almost see the methodology of how he works. And in this, it was almost just because it was going so fast, it didn't have those subtleties in it.
He didn't seem very proactive. He seemed more reactive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there wasn't the laying the traps.
Yeah, he was just reacting to what Light did. That was all he was doing to find him. Yeah, he was putting some clues together. Didn't explain how he was putting the clues together.
No.
But yeah, that was that, and it pissed me off a little bit.
And we were introduced to Watabi as well.
Watari.
Watari, sorry. Yeah. We were introduced to him at the same time. Yeah, because in the manga we're introduced to Watari first, and you kind of like you've got Watari out there, and then L's in the background, quite mysterious, and then you meet L, and this was like, oh, here's L.
No.
L was the first character, to be honest, throughout the entire film I was rooting for.
That's because he's trying to catch the evil guy who you don't care about.
Yeah. But I was never clear if I was meant to be rooting for this, guy, if I was meant to be on his side at all.
You're meant to be in between. You're meant to bounce between it.
I really never once bounced. I was really kind of there, and it was very glossed over very quickly by how bad he came across when he was trying to do some good. Even when he was doing good, and even when he was being that sort of anti-hero character, I think that was just so quickly glossed over with all the other problems that I didn't care for him at all. I didn't like him. I didn't like his, emo girlfriend. I just fucking hate that shit bag. Yeah.
What's even worse is just after this intro, you get Light and the dad talking, and Light just comes out straight away and just defends Kira.
Yeah, and
just out of the blue, just like, oh no, he's good.
It's like you
shouldn't hunt him. He's good.
It's like he wants people to know. It's like he's just so dumb. It's beyond belief.
Yeah, this great secret that you would keep so hidden away.
Yeah.
He's already blabbed it within seconds to someone.
Yeah, because he wanted to get his end away.
There's a scene where he goes down to his father after El's sort of given that press conference with his face covered.
Yeah.
And he goes, and he says to his father, like El says to the father, the sheriff, whatever, detective, he said to him, I'm guessing this guy needs my name and he needs my face. What happens on that exact same night? Light comes down and all of a sudden he's like,
what's his name? What does he
name?
look like?
Yeah. Oh, so you don't know his name? What's his name? Tell me his name. I'm like, not at one point does the detective go, why is he suddenly so fucking interested?
Yeah.
That's so annoying.
I mean, also you get that friction between the police and El very quickly shown. How they just don't want, like, El's playing his own game and the police aren't happy about it. I mean, you get an element of that in the original source material, but not to this level. This it's so petty at this level as well.
El pretty much immediately knows that Light is Kira as well.
Yeah, that
doesn't take him long. I wonder why. Must be because he's going around telling people.
He probably walked 3 streets away from him and just heard it on the wind.
Yeah.
I'm Kira!
Hey, I'm Batman. Want to know my secret identity? It's like that.
Hey, I'm Bruce Wayne. I mean Batman.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that, really. Any pretty girl, he's like, I'm Val Kilmer. I mean Batman.
Want to touch my rubber nipples?
I can be George Clooney too.
And then El describes Light as being bright.
Oh God.
There's no indication.
The only thing bright about him is the frosted tips in his hair. that is it.
That's why they call me Slim Shady.
I mean, I do have written down here that Light's 2'4" and is as subtle as a sledgehammer.
Dumb dickhead kid.
Yeah,
it's just a dumb film.
And then we see. We get very quickly. We get the FBI chief just being killed.
Yeah, he's because the FBI were following him.
Yeah, and so we get Lights coming under pressure at this point because of El's suspicions, and it's just an evil Mia just pops out of nowhere, and she's like the devil on the shoulder. Just fuck it, let's kill them. And you're just like, what? Like, you haven't even said hello. The first words out your mouth were kill someone.
I like to do the killing.
And there's just no depth to that character. You're just there to kill people.
There to be a fucking twat.
And he's like, no, we're not going to do that. And the next scene, we just see the FBI chief die.
Yeah. First heart attack of the whole thing.
Yeah, heart attack, which was nice to see. Falls down the stairs, and you're just like, fair enough.
Which was nice to see.
Trust me, yeah, it was.
Yeah. It was like nice to see a death that wasn't ridiculous.
It was ironic, I think, because just at that point, you two had told me about that whole...
The heart attacks.
Yeah, that had been the way they'd sort of sussed who it was.
That's how they just figured out that all these heart attacks were linked to Kira.
That's his calling card.
And so far, we've had no 2 deaths the same, so they wouldn't know, in theory, that they're just... all these people are dying.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just preposterous. And then we get all the agents like they're coming through the front door, and you're just like, oh, it's about to go down, and then they just jump off a roof, and you're just like, oh,
and then
okay.
and then you see them splat at the bottom.
And those agents,
and that was unnecessary, I thought.
Like from the time we see the light being followed,
I think I even cringed.
From the time we see light being followed all the way through to them jumping off, was what, maybe a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
It was so quick, and there was just no reason for it. It's like, okay, so you put this in, you've got them in one scene, and then they kill themselves. Why do I care?
It was just scarnography, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't hammer home how bad death is.
No.
It's just like... It's just something splattering on the floor. You don't get the impact of how bad it is to die or how bad it is to take a life. You just get this this Hollywoodification of death.
Very like Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of moment, wasn't it? They just kind of...
Again, no, I found that because of the pacing of the film, the FBI people getting killed, it didn't even... If it wasn't in the film, it wouldn't have impacted it in any way.
I like the way he keeps saying impact when like he's talking about the guys hitting the floor.
Like the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the...
I'm amazed they didn't use that song, to be honest.
There you go.
Yeah, excellent.
It's only two podcasts too late.
Well, they didn't use that song because it didn't come out in the 80s.
Yeah,
that's true.
And they had a real 80s boner in this film.
Yeah, they did. I think they'd seen Stranger Things and decided to run with that.
Yeah.
I think it's like a Netflix mandate at this point. If you don't have 80s electronic, then just get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're Marvel.
Even then. Jessica Jones started that, and every single one after that pretty much had a 80s electro in.
A little bit.
So we get Ryuk defending the brutality. Light comes in and he's like, what the hell? How have you killed these guys? I didn't write this.
He accuses him of it, yeah.
And Ryuk's just like...
Ryuk doesn't even deny it.
No, he's just like, I can do what I want.
He doesn't deny it or confirm it.
Yeah.
He just
says, I can do what I want, and I can do it as brutal as I want.
Yeah.
And that's almost the film defending how gory it's been up to this point.
Yeah, he's the director. That's him talking to his critics. It's like he knew people were going to criticise it. Yeah.
It's like, I can make it as gory and brutal as I want, and you can't do anything about it. And it's almost like a slap in the face to the audience.
Yeah, and Light threatens to write Ryuk's name in the notebook, and Ryuk just shrugs it off, like, good luck.
Yeah.
Deaf cunt.
And then we get the TV...
You know who I am? I'm the Green Goblin.
Then we get the second TV conference with the police this time, kind of just saying, you don't scare us. If I fall, then someone will take my place. And
it's his dad.
Bit of the Hydra stuff.
Yeah.
And it's his dad, so he's like, well, I'm not going to do it. And instantly, Evil Mia pops out the woodwork and it's just like, well, I'll do it.
Let's kill your dad.
Yeah. I mean, what really annoyed me about that scene...
You nearly popped about your seat. You were like, what the fuck?
Yeah. See, we were angry for so different reasons to you at this point.
No fucking sense at all. It's like, who's going to suddenly sort of go, oh yeah, I'll go along with that. You know, just fucking...
I actually wrote at that point, Mia is a shit cunt.
She's gone past
there's
both
actually
words.
More swear words on your pad there than not.
Than in the film.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot in the film. But they're all just thrown in to be edgy.
Yeah.
Who's this motherfucker? Like that.
The prom pictures, like, I'll stick my fingers up at the camera.
You know, it very much has that teen film feel of...
It does. It's like, I honestly, when watching this, I thought this isn't marketed towards me. No. I don't feel that this film is geared towards me.
Who is it geared towards?
I think teenagers.
18
I think
to
it
20.
highlights things like, you know...
Being a moron.
Arrogant outcasts.
All adults are evil.
Themes on suicides. Yeah, the adult sort of authority that
they don't
just
listen.
doesn't understand.
Yeah.
Edgelords. Yeah,
it's
just for the edgelords.
Yeah.
All 7 of them.
It seems to be like that. It seems to be a vehicle for that teenage angst.
Yeah. I mean...
Which we've seen done 1,000 times more and 1,000 times better.
Exactly. In the OC. California...
Oh, what you say? Oh, that you only meant well. And of course you did. Oh, what you say? Oh, when it's all for the best. Because it is. Damn it!
So the very next scene after like evil Mia's popped up is Light's just eating in a cafe and Elle just pops up out of nowhere.
You're Kira, I'm gonna get you.
I ironically just wrote that this scene came out of the blue and it was just flooded with blue lighting at this point.
It's very neon.
It did have that neo-noir-esque of it's so dull with spot colours throughout.
I think when Wikipedia were editing the page for this, they just saw that one scene and thought, oh, neo-noir.
Yeah, and again, I just got that. I just wrote, Elle is too cocky, Light is too dumb. and this whole scene kind of, he's like, I think you're Kira, and I don't
I'm
carry
not,
a gun.
but if I was, here's what I would do.
It's like if a hipster and a vegan met in a cafe.
Oh, Jesus.
Have you ever seen, what's it called? I think it was The Heat or something with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro.
Oh, yes.
You know, that scene in the cafe, it's going to be like, what if you do got me pinned down? And I gotta take you out. I gotta choose between taking you out and taking Submission out. And like they're standing off again. It's like a standoff, and neither one of them's admitting to something, but they both know who each other.
It's all hypothetical, but not.
Yeah, and it's designed to build that tension. I kind of got that vibe from that scene. That's what they were trying to emulate.
But they didn't quite.
No, of course not, because neither of them are like Al Pacino or Robert De Niro.
No.
Again, I got the you just had Light baiting Elle, but in such a dumb way. He's about to storm off, and then he just comes back and say, "So how do you think I did it then? If I am?" And he's like, "Come on then, tell me how I've done it." And it's just
while rubbing his nipples.
Yeah. No, tell me. Yeah.
And I just.
It's like playing with the cops, except not very well.
Call me Kira.
Yeah.
Call me Kira. Do it. What?
What?
And then we had what I can only describe as the power of the dick compels you moment.
Oh,
him coming back
kissing
in the rain.
Oh, fuck no. I was there literally.
We all called it at the start of the scene as well.
I didn't.
You had more faith.
I had more faith. I did. I was like, this woman basically tried to threaten to kill your father. Actually picked up the book and wanted to attempt it. And then there's this fucking rain coming down. And, you know, Jerry, both of you said there, like, oh, there's going to be a kiss. And I'm like, no, there isn't. It would make no sense if he forgave her. And what did he do? He walked past her. I'm like, fuck yes, that makes sense. And then all of a sudden she went, I love you. I'd be like, you tried to kill my dad, you prick nut. Like, I would not forgive that. And then it's like all of a sudden he's like raging 2-inch throb on, decides that the rain and all the shite makes sense to kiss her. And then those two were right.
I don't know what makes you more angry, the fact that we were right, or the fact that the cliche happened.
It's a 70-30 and I'll let you decide which one's which, because I don't know.
Bow, chicka, what? Wow. Chicka, what? Wow.
Fucking so annoying. I don't mind stereotypes. I love stereotypes in films. In like,
yeah, I really
Kiss in the Rains and all the rest of it, but it has to make sense.
I thought you meant the stereotypes, like Chinese people not being able to pronounce the letter L.
Please delete all of that.
There should be.
I'm gonna leave some of it in.
There should be one in Chuck Norris's hometown called Walker's Texas Ranger.
Hey. Yeah. So we get the Watari call, and there's so much exposition in it. Again, of out the blue, like you said straight away, how did he get his surname?
Yeah, you have to have the full name to be able to influence.
I've got written, I think you said it as well, of it. The film breaks its own rules at this point.
Yeah.
Is it a single named guy? Because I doubt it, but he somehow has.
That's the case. You could have got L.
Yeah, it's weird, and the whole meaning of that was to try and you get where L's come from. You get L's backstory through this, and then he just says, "Go get me L's name," basically.
Yeah.
And and then
L loses his cool, which you never see in that way from the source material.
It's really funny because you kind of have that Watari call, and then you have this nice family dinner scene of you've got Mia, Light, and I can't remember the dad's name.
Detective Turner.
Detective Dad.
Yeah,
Mr. Dad.
Mr. Dad. And they're just sat there, and they're talking about. Are they talking about Kira? And it's quite an open conversation of why are you doing this, and then
these detectives don't know anything about confidentiality, do they?
I mean, they are Americans, so.
Yeah.
And then you get Angry L. This is what I've put. He just comes in so uncharacteristic, like, "Where is he? Where is he?"
Smashes Light's head off the table.
You never give the notebook to an ordinary citizen.
And straight away in front,
Can't wait to do that film.
in front of the detective, he's like, "You're Kira. Where's Watari? Give him to me." And the detective's like, "Don't talk to my son like that." He's like, "You're fucking stupid." And just completely in front of him, it's just like, what the fuck are you doing as a detective?
Mia has disappeared upstairs mysteriously.
Yeah, because he's like, "I need to talk to you. I need to talk to like Mia." Toodles.
But yeah,
And she's just on the stairs listening.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
fucking genius.
and then we see him just be violent out the blue.
Yeah.
At this point as well.
Yeah.
And it's just, and this is where we see Mia kind of being on the side of, she's like, "Oh shit, I see what's happening." He's just said there's a search warrant, and she goes and gets the death note.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's so out of character. It's like out of the blue of this guy who's quite like thinking and quiet is just suddenly really violent and angry.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's just been hit hard with his best buddy. He's just been kidnapped. Doesn't know where he is, but it's such an overreaction that again it just took me out of the film.
Yeah.
Because that pacing is all over the place, that tone's all over the place. But what can you do?
Yeah.
Turn it off.
Yeah.
And so they're going to go to the homecoming.
Well, he's up. He's like, "Can't find my fucking death note anywhere." And she's like, "Oh, I've got it."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You thought the first person you'd ask would be, 'Have you got it?'" Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then she's like, "Homecoming."
Yeah.
Wait. Shh.
Fuck's sake.
Is that what you think of this film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a closed room.
Now the window's open.
Not helpful when I'm furthest one away from said window.
No idea what you're talking about.
That's a delicious flavour. Very nutty.
It's really funny because all through this film we've just seen Mia be so evil, and suddenly just like she's like, "Trust me," and he's just like, "Okay." And through it's like, "This is the person that tried to kill your dad."
I think I compared it to Lady Macbeth, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah.
You say it's very much a Lady Macbeth moment.
Oh,
Not the only Shakespeare reference we're going to have.
No, of course not.
But yeah, we know our shit. And then from there we had what I just put as the spooky orphanage scene, which was Watari getting to this orphanage
to find Elle's name for Lights to call him up.
And it just the original shot was like a bit skewed, and the colours gradients were all
had that
off.
horror vibe back, didn't it?
Well, yeah, he's walking through this real creepy place, and the jelly beans on the floor.
And Ryuk was there.
He was Ryuk was dossing about.
Yeah, he was in the background.
He cropped up a couple of times, and you know, he just like what got me. And this is how petty I am with films. I think I was like, this place has obviously been abandoned for a long time. Why are those jelly beans still there?
Yeah, you had a real like unnatural hatred of that place.
Why would anything? Why would any documents still be there? You've got.
Who wouldn't take the jelly beans?
I know, well, there's that, but also there's the documents. What sort of genius detective is going to leave his true name, when he's known for being anonymous, in some place anyone can get into?
Well, do you remember with the exposition? He's like, "Oh yeah, the people of here are put into a room, and if they don't go crazy after 12 days, then they're accepted into the orphanage. Otherwise, they're nutcases and just locked up." And I was just like, "What? What? What?"
It's a bit, very progressive.
That's exactly how you create a detective, isn't it? That's what they do. They lock them in a room, and if they don't go insane,
then they're fine. Yeah.
Either that or they kill their parents in an alleyway. Let them go up to be the world's greatest detective.
The world's greatest detective. That's how you do it. Yeah.
But he dresses like a rodent, so whatever.
So then,
who are you talking about?
Batman.
So we get.
I was joking. Fucking hell.
Yes, that was some good action. I really thought you were dumb.
So then we
Don't
get.
fear us, non-nerds. We're gentle folk.
So then we get to this school dance with its old switcheroo of Just give the hat onto the
I just
guy.
imagine you as an old man now. Then they get to the disco.
They get to the...
Yes, I said disco.
They go to the discotheque.
they've got the fizzy pops and they've got the Freddos. And they're having a proper good time.
When Freddos were less than 10p.
They got them strobe lights on. All having a banging good
When
time.
Greggs used to be nationalised
Tekken
before
2
Prime
and
President. But yeah, we get the old switcheroo where he gives the top hat to this other guy, and these trained agents just happen to accept this top hat is moving and not check who's wearing it. So he ducks out, and he rings Watara, and he's like, "Have you got the name?" And he's like, "Yeah," and then Watara dies.
Yeah, he gets shot.
Yeah,
just inexplicably. And this pissed me off more than it probably should. But he went to his locker and he opened it up, and there was a picture of him with Mia in there. And there was also...
Oh, yes, you were fucking living it.
The sticker that's so cliche. You see it on every fucking loser, edgelord prick wearing it on a t-shirt, and just says, "Normal people scare me." And it's like, fuck off. Fuck off.
That annoyed you almost as much as the jelly beans annoyed you.
Yeah. That wasn't irrational hatred I had.
Again, my thoughts on this film.
Stop doing that!
It's gonna shit himself if you're not careful.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I followed through a little there. No, I'm safe. It's good.
You just wanted to finger your ball there.
Oh my god, that fucking stinks.
Shaking out my trouser leg a little.
Oh, dude, what the fuck?
That'll be last night's pizza.
Oh, fuck, I'm gonna be sick.
Fungi.
Where were we? Not a healthy person makes that smell.
Nope.
So suddenly we see the detectives kind of take like going, "Oh, we've just been switched on," but he's come back and he's dancing with her again. And it's at this point he's freaking out. We see Mia take control here.
And also, I'll just point out, this was that was about, I said about being Lady Macbeth, but my favourite bit, because they played "Take Your Breath Away" from Top Gun.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes!
Well, ultimate 80s song, slow dance song.
Yeah. We should have watched Top Gun instead. We'd have had so much of a better time. Shame it wasn't based on a comic.
I mean, we really see here that she adores, Mia adores life, but in such a...
She wants to own him.
Yeah, it's in such a different way that... it doesn't help you
does
care.
in a comic. Yeah.
It doesn't help you get attached to these characters. You just want them to fail all throughout.
It was very... Oh, what's that film with Sarah Michelle Gellar in?
Buffy.
Cruel Intentions. I thought.
Yeah.
A little bit. The way she's like this control freak.
Yeah. I liked your analogy about Lady Macbeth. Like, her sphere of influence keeps building and building in the back of her.
Until she's pretty much the king.
What we have coming up is like the first scene of the film that I was like, you know what? This is good. And this was this chase scene.
That was a good
where
scene.
Where they're closing in, and suddenly the music was spot on. Everything just worked. It all came together. The aesthetic, just the whole that pacing of that chase scene.
Yeah, that was great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And suddenly, out of this pile of shit, comes this nugget of gold. Yeah. And it was, I loved it. It was just, everything about it was brilliant.
Yeah, it was great. And then he...
and then it ends on such a shit note because Light catches him, and within a second he confesses.
Yes.
And I was just like, "What are you doing?
No, you need my book. You need my book. No."
And so at this point, he's like, "Mia did it," and it's just, oh no.
And then you've got fucking.
Which underlines like how much of a child he is, really.
Well, I couldn't believe this film went from such a high of that awesome scene to possibly the worst scene in the film.
At least we got to see as well that Kira does have devoted followers though as well.
I mean, yeah, this is where we see kind of what should have been explored more was the Kira godlike mentality that's happening through the public and that support, which you haven't heard of through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Past that little bit of news footage.
Yeah, that was it.
That suddenly it's like this guy knocks out Light and knocks out Elle, sorry, and you're just like, oh, okay. If I hadn't seen the anime, I'd just been like, why did he do that?
But here's the thing. Elle is meant to be this top-end detective. He's smart. He would know that some people...
Sorry, this detective that doesn't carry a gun who has a gun through this chase scene.
Yes. He should know that there is a following for Kira.
Yeah.
So he would never say what he said when that guy came out, which was, "This man is Kira, I'm here to stop him." He should have just said, "I'm with the police, this man's a suspect in a crime."
Oh, so Light escapes and suddenly we're on a pier.
Yes.
Like, no in between, just... Well, Mia's on the pier waiting, and he's frantic. And what I noticed was he's frantically running.
He has Elle's gun as well.
Have you ever seen... Have you tried running through a crowd?
No.
And people 10 metres in front of you turn around and parting. No, you just had to barge through them.
They do for me, but that's probably because I'm an absolute god.
No, it's just because you're naked and they don't want the herpes.
Well, either way they're part. I'm coming for all of you! Get out of the way!
I don't know if you noticed, but like when he was running, he had such a manic expression on his face as well. Like,
That's throughout the entire film.
It was just so evil, and it just didn't fit. But
Getting away on a crumpet.
we had that like kind of he's like, "Run with me," and they go to the end of the pier to the Ferris wheel and just.
That
it's
cemented in
he
the
forces his way onto the Ferris wheel.
So he's just like, "No one comes on after me." Shoots the
what
control
was the
panel.
plan there? I don't get.
I don't think there was.
Isolate yourself inside a Ferris wheel with no escape.
So we have this whole cheesy conversation with cheesy music playing of like, "Well, here I've got this," and so she takes it and then it all fucks up and goes to shit, and you're just there like. And this is the other Shakespeare bit came in where we were just like, this is just, and you said all the way through, it's like, this isn't just a shit Romeo and Juliet, is it? This isn't, and we were all just like, it's a shit Romeo and Juliet.
More like Bromeo and Juliet. Glad I got that in.
But yeah, just a shit scene in a shit film.
yeah, that's all it is.
And it was like, oh look, it's fallen in a really weird way, and then we had kind of what I call the outro to the pier scene of some guy picks the book up and we have Elle getting
dies.
We get Elle getting chastised because people are still dying, and that kind of okay. I was like, oh, is the film over? Thank God at this point. And what really annoyed me was, and we see Kira as Elle exits being worshipped as a god, really, like with the graffiti on the wall in the back, and yeah, it was just.
And then he confesses to his dad how he did it.
So yeah, he's in. So we find that Elle isn't in a coma, but he's actually in a hospital room. Oh, Light, sorry, is in a hospital room, and then we get what I would just term the Bond villain reveals his plan moment of he's like, this is my whole plan to his dad, the cop, and it was just shit.
Yeah.
Mentally, it would have been good if he'd just been sat there with the smile on his face, a bit like Psycho at the end, and just the voiceover of "this is how I did it and I got away with it all, and they'll never know." While
he's explaining all this, Light is going through Mia's stuff, and she finds the note of paper.
Yeah, so we see Light on the plane suddenly going, "Don't take off," and he's on it.
Yeah, finds the piece of the death note that Mia had taken, and she'd written all the FBI agents.
The whole time he's on about all this.
Yeah, it looks like he's about to write Light's name in it.
Yeah, and
I thought he was. I thought that's what that was building towards.
Well, we don't know because we get to the point of Elle going, "Do I or don't I?" And that whole conscience that we should have had from Light at the start showing in Elle at the end.
Yeah,
and. Like, do I take this bad step to stop a bad person, or do I have to rise above it to take him down? And then we get just real
cops his head around the corner.
It's fine. And because this is the nice thing of we don't know if it was written or not because it's such an ambiguous quote of "you humans are so strange."
No, interesting.
Oh, interesting. Sorry.
Even though they fucking weren't in this film.
No.
Jesus Christ, they were not an interesting group of humans.
And I mean, roll credits at this point.
Which came as something of a reprieve, didn't it?
Yeah, we all run out the room.
Yeah. The thing is...
Downvoted.
Yeah, the thing that is the most disappointing about this film is that they took a concept which, even if you did change it, you can't go wrong with. It's an amazing concept. And they just turned it to shit for the sake of having an edgelord style to it. And... That was it. It was a dumb movie. It was just dumb.
It was a teen movie that took...
Yeah, absolutely.
It just took a franchise that obviously was knocking about. I tried to adapt it, and
pumped
it just...
it full of teen acts.
I mean,
Nick Hollywooded it.
Teen movies don't have to be bad. I mean, look at 10 Things I Hate About You. It's a fucking fantastic...
American Pie.
Yeah, and Mean Girls.
Everything... as long as something's done well, it doesn't matter where it belongs on the scale.
Yeah.
You know.
This is the first time I know of where a Netflix original has been really, really panned.
I'm not sure if it got panned because it had, like, the original Death Note has such a devoted audience and it is so beloved. Because it ran for 12 volumes of manga.
Yeah.
It was a self-contained story. There's no spin-offs or anything like that. It's a story, and I felt this bastardized it so much, and it ripped so many interesting elements out just to make it a 2-hour film. That it could just go fuck itself.
Well, here's the thing: Joe's has never seen the manga or the anime,
you
and he didn't even like it. So,
but pacing all over the place, just totally wrong. You never cared about the main characters at all.
No.
The
the only saving grace to it is that chase scene
Dafoe.
and Willem Dafoe as Ryuk. That's it. And he didn't have a lot to do really in the grand scheme. He was just there a few times.
Like I said earlier,
but he was good when he was there.
I think a 4 or 6 part series would have been the way to go with this. Give yourself a bit more time to tell the story.
More breathing room, yeah.
And it would have. You could have told the same story a bit slower, and we probably would have cared more.
You could have easily.
We'd have understood where the characters were coming from, not just that Mia's evil for being evil.
It had a lot of potential, as you say, to be spun out into a longer TV series. You know.
I mean, I'm not asking for a 13 or 24 episode run with multiple seasons. A one shot, like with what they did with the Castlevania anime. That kind of just one shot go would have been fine.
Yeah.
And maybe they were worried. I just don't know where they were coming from. I don't know how the producers and on Netflix side looked at it and thought that's going to be good.
They were cashing in on a franchise that reached its peak about 6 years ago.
And I'm hoping...
That's all it was.
I'm really hoping that this isn't the decline of Netflix original programming.
Well, based on Punisher, I don't think it is.
I haven't seen it yet.
Or Stranger Things, yeah.
13 Reasons Why was good.
Love was great.
Yeah. A lot of good stuff.
This is the first big misstep.
This podcast is brought to you by Netflix.
Please sponsor us.
It's not all...
But this is the first big misstep I've seen on particularly Netflix.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that only other misstep I can think of is Iron Fist. But even that was it had its moments.
My name is Danny Rand.
I'm the Immortal Iron Fist.
I am the Immortal Iron Fist.
I'm the Immortal Iron Fist. My name is Danny Rand. I'm the Immortal Iron Fist.
Come play with me. I've got a dog. By the way, my name's Danny Rand.
I'm the Immortal Iron Fist.
I mean, at least Iron Fist had the thing of...
What's the name of that show?
10 Things I Hate About You.
10 Things I Hate About Danny Rand, the Immortal Iron Fist.
But at least that was building to the Defenders series. It wasn't a one-off. I mean, I wouldn't have even minded if this had been the first part of, like, a 2 or 3-parter, and this was, like, that first part of a trilogy. I wouldn't have minded. But... I just don't want anyone else. I just don't want anyone to touch it again.
I don't want to watch that film ever again.
I mean, I'd be interested to watch.
It makes me want to watch the anime again.
I was going to say, isn't there a Japanese live action as well?
There's a few. I think
which I think have all been critically panned as well.
Yeah.
So maybe this is just a franchise that can't translate.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt really chilled that it didn't have more of the Shingami elements in. It didn't have that mysticism. It didn't have that biblical side to it that we were talking about. And just tonally, I liked the dark aesthetic of it. I thought that worked. There were odd little bits to like about the film, but not much. Not the music. I love the music, but I'm big into 80s music at the moment, so... I mean, that seems to be everywhere right now.
Yeah.
Everything's using 80s music.
The 80s in general is back. We're selling LP players at work.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotta love an LP.
Gotta.
Good Frisbees are Shaun the Dead show.
Batman soundtrack.
Don't throw it! Don't throw it!
Oh, that was turned into a comic. Does that count?
Yeah, fuck it does.
Okay, great.
Fuck it, why not? But yeah, come on, ratings. Joe, we'll start with you because you're going to be the kindest out of any of us.
Out of what?
Out of 5.
1.5.
That's kind.
It's very kind. I'm going to give it half.
I'm going to go with you. That chase scene that's the one thing.
That's the half.
And how well Ryuk is played. They're the only two things that I can say I particularly liked about it. For every odd moment of good thing in this film, there's so much bad.
Here's the thing. Maybe we're going to watch something worse in the future.
Oh, don't say that.
It's possible. It's possible.
I mean, there are some bad movies out there.
Yes, there are some.
I mean, I've never been so glad that next time we're watching some of the anime.
Yeah. I think it was a good shout to watch the film first and then...
I think Joe's been kind with 1.5, and after the anime he might revisit that.
Possibly, yeah.
But, yeah, I've been Haz from Valkyrock.
I've been Jay Horner Illustration on Twitter. No, not Jay Horner on Twitter. Jay Horner Illustration on Instagram. And Jay Horner Illustration on FaceB.
And I'm Joe, who got fed to come here.
You got given food.
Yeah.
From the soup kitchen.
That's what he calls his bag.
So back to the Bermuda Triangle now.
Absolutely. Get some better food.
We'll put you in the catapult.
If you could just take this movie with you and leave it there, that would be nice.
There, yeah.
So
poet movie.
Oh dear, we've lost 2 hours of our life that we're never going to get back. So
and you've lost 2 hours of yours by listening to us. Thank you. Thank you, all 7 of you.
That's rich. 6.
Oh yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Go away.